Around the Western world, freedom that has for centuries been fought for and paid in the blood and lives of those whose ancestors are native to the West is collapsing. No, not collapsing, imploding. Freedom of thought, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression are all under serious assault. And if you thought things couldn't get much worse, you'd be wrong. Governments at every level work with the courts and media while using the police as enforcers of approved state opinion and are running roughshod over the corpse of what was once the free and democratic West. In Canada, the Supreme Court has ruled that truth is no defense when it comes to offending others. Truthful statements can be presented in a manner that would meet the definition of hate speech, and not all truthful statements must be free from restriction. In Sweden, there have been so many cover-ups by the media and police of sexual assaults by incoming Muslim migrants, or as they are called in the media, new Swedes, that it's difficult to know where to begin. In fact, I've recently made an entire video on how the media, as well as the authorities of Sweden, have now in fact blamed Swedish women for being raped en masse by Muslim migrants. In Germany, a coordinated effort by the authorities working with social media to quash, penalize, and label any dissent as quote-unquote hate speech is a program that even former members of the East German Secret Police, or Stasi, find breathtaking in its sophistication and in the wide net that it casts. Also, at the same time, the media, police, and authorities have repeatedly attempted to cover up the appalling amount of sexual violence being carried out by Muslim migrants upon German women and children. In this video, I've gone into detail on how the Muslim sexual rampage is affecting all of Europe, as well as Germany in particular. But it is in the UK and the lengths to which the state is going to keep a lid on the powder keg that 19 years of importing vibrant diversity wholesale has created, and is by far the most disturbing. Tony Blair's desire to forever change the face of the UK has succeeded, and with very corrosive results. And authorities have had to come up with ever more draconian laws to keep the natives from expressing their discontent, as well as pretend that there is anything even approaching community cohesion in many parts of the country. The UK is a magnet for Islamist hate preachers, as well as a playground for Muslim men to satisfy their urges with easy meat. In the UK, its authorities, councils, police, and media have aided and abetted the grooming, raping, torturing, and in some cases, murder of white native girls, some as young as 12, by packs of Muslim men. Grooming gangs have been identified in Rochdale, Derby, Oxford, Bristol, Telford, Peterborough, Banbury, and many others. But the most famous is Rotherham, where grooming, raping, trafficking, and pimping of thousands of white girls was allowed to go on unimpeded by the police for over a decade, for fear of being called racist. And the systematic rape of white children by Muslim men is still being carried out in Rotherham on an industrial scale to this day. Given the collusion of the media and authorities, speaking out against these atrocities has given one man the label of an enemy of the state, and this man is Tommy Robinson. Mr. Robinson was instrumental in organizing opposition to the Islamization in England via street protests carried out by the English Defence League. While the middle and upper classes show their inherent disgust for those they feel are their social inferiors, class does make a large difference by way of who must endure the day-to-day experience of living with the fruits of vibrant diversity that have been foisted upon the working classes in England, but also in the entire Western world. The EDL has been vilified by the media, and its disgust of the unwashed masses is regularly disseminated by leftist news outlets like The Guardian and the BBC. Its former leader, Tommy Robinson, who is now associated with the UK branch of the German organization Pegida, or Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the West, has been a one-man example of the state's abuse of power in its drive to force unwanted millions and their incompatible culture on the historic majority population in the UK, and to make sure they remain groveling and under heel. In his book, Enemy of the State, Robinson presents a horrifying picture of the entire apparatus of the state power being directed at shutting down political speech and basic rights such as freedom of assembly and peaceful protest. And now this, his freedom of association and in fact his liberty of movement has now not only been impeded, he risks imprisonment by simply traveling through cities within his own country. On the 27th of August 2016, Mr. Robinson was ejected from the city of Cambridge and threatened with criminal charges for watching a football match in a pub with his 3 young children, all aged under 10 and some friends. When Mr. Robinson protested that he was with his family and that no other Luton supporters were being ejected, another officer accused him of acting aggressively and told him, "You're going to get arrested in a minute." The manager for pub security staff intervened and told the police that he, his children, and his group were just watching the game and were not causing any trouble, and nothing unlawful had taken place.
I'm the area manager for a security company. The group that you're throwing out have been in the Prince Regent today with their children. Caused no problems at all in there. So come in here, spoken to my head of security. He's saying that they've not.
Facing arrest for watching a football match with his children, Robinson elected to leave, but was followed down the road by 4 officers that told him, "We're following you, and there's no way out of that," causing his young children, all under the age of 10, to cry in terror.
Right, okay, we're following you, there's no way out of that.
You think we need safety of food? Macy, darling, come here. Come here, darling, it's alright. Come here, sweetheart, it's alright. Girls, it's alright, come here. Come here.
Let that last part sink in. These officers, agents of the state, being paid via the public purse, are now empowered to approach, harass, detain, and arrest citizens in public spaces, but also on private property, who are not engaged in any political activity and without any due process. If this is not state harassment, intimidation, and abuse of authority, I do not know what is. The man is not allowed to go anywhere or do anything, even with his children, without police coming to find him and threaten him with arrest. This climate is being normalized in not only the UK, but in many countries across the Western world. Freedom of conscience, belief, opinion, speech, association, freedom of movement. None of these freedoms will be upheld by the authorities if you disavow the approved state political opinions. It doesn't matter where you lie on the political spectrum, this overreach of government authority that is glossed over and manipulated by a pliant and traitorous media class should frighten everyone, least of all because of the implications when taken to their logical conclusion. One only need to look at the setting and those present and the fact that it was only Mr. Robinson that was forced to leave. I might also add that the game he was watching was between Manchester United and Hull City. No, it's clear. This is political harassment being carried out by agents of the state. The police in countries as far afield as Canada, Sweden, Germany, but especially the UK, have now shown themselves for what they are, enforcers, not of the law, but of the doctrines and dogma of the political and media classes. They can exert time, energy, and labor on policing Twitter comments, or on offensive Facebook comments, on limiting speech and conscience. They can abuse, harass, and persecute a man quietly watching a football match with his children and friends, and in effect exile him from an entire city within his own country. But they cannot protect little girls from systematic rape by gangs of Pakistani Muslims. No, scratch that. They have ignored the pleas for help from the families of the girls raped for decades, as has the political and media class, as they have also the activities of Islamist hate preachers and jihadist recruiters. We're now beginning to witness the breakdown of the social contract. The organs of the state, the police, judiciary, political, and controlled media classes are now in open contempt for those they mean to rule. And given this trajectory, the people will respond in due course. Please consider subscribing to this channel. It will be updated regularly.